It all began in a way that you wouldn't think would happen. My name is Olivia. I was just another person in the corporate world, working hard every day until Jack came into my life. He was a client at the company I worked for, and our first meeting was very unusual. There was a spark, an instant connection, something that made the atmosphere feel alive whenever we were together. "Is your name Olivia? I heard you're really good with numbers," Jack said when we first met. His cheerful face lit up with a smile that I could sense before I even saw it. "Wizards could be a bit much, but I understand them pretty well," I said, trying to stay calm. Who was this guy coming in and using words like wizard? We soon started talking about more than just work. We shared our personal interests, dreams, and how we see life. It felt like discovering a part of me that I didn't realize was gone. Jack was charming, not just because he could talk well, but because he really cared. He paid attention, really paid attention, and that was uncommon. We began to meet outside of work, and each date felt like we were uncovering more about ourselves. It was both exciting and scary at the same time. "I can't believe you really like pineapple on pizza," I joked during one of our dinner dates. "Hey, don't judge it before you give it a go," Jack defended. "It's the perfect mix of sweet and savory," and his eyes lit up with a passion like people have for their favorite sports teams or bands. "That sounds like something only a crazy person would say," I replied, laughing from deep inside me. Jack laughed with me, making the area around us feel warm. Those times felt like we were in our own little world, away from the watchful eyes and demands of reality. 6 months went by quickly with shared smiles, quiet secrets, and dreams. Then, without really thinking, Jack asked. It was a bit chaotic, not planned, and right in our favorite dive bar. No big surprises or secret photographers, just real feelings. "Olivia, I understand this isn't special. I don't have a ring right now, and there's a smell of old beer around us, but I can't picture my life without you. Marry me," he said, his voice calm, but his hands trembled. At that moment, I understood how much I had fallen. "Sure, but if we are going to do this, we will do it how we want. No trouble, just us. We got married fast, just like how we made our choice. We didn't need a huge wedding. What really mattered was the promise we made to one another. We moved into Jack's house, a small and comfy place that quickly felt like home because we were together. Life with Jack felt like being in a bubble. Everything was nice and calm, until his mom, Linda, made it her goal to pop it. She lived next door and always seemed to show up at the exact moment we didn't expect or want her to. On a lazy Sunday afternoon, Jack and I were relaxing on the couch when someone knocked on the door. Before we could even act like we weren't home, Linda came in like a storm on a mission. "Olivia, sweetie, how are you?" she called out, her voice showing both worry and a hint of blame. "I'm fine, Linda, just having a nice weekend," I said, trying to smile, but it felt more like a frown. "Having fun, are you? Do you know what could make weekends more fun?" "A grandchild running around," she replied, looking quickly between Jack and me, as if her stare could make me have a baby. Jack, always wanting to help, tried to make everyone feel better. "Mom, we've discussed this. We are not in a hurry." Linda didn't want to deal with it. "Not in a hurry. I had Jack when I was your age, Olivia. The time is running out, you see." Her words stayed in the air, always reminding us of the pressure she was putting on us. It wasn't just some comments anymore, it was every visit. Dinners were spoiled by her sharp questions and comparisons to her friends' kids, who seemed to be having grandchildren everywhere. One evening, she overstepped more than usual. We were at her place for what was supposed to be a peaceful dinner. The main course wasn't the only thing served. Linda dished out her ultimatum as well. "Olivia, I've been patient, but I need to know, are you even capable of giving me grandchildren?" Linda's voice was sharp, each word slicing through the pretense of a familial meal. I was taken aback, anger boiling in my veins. "Linda, that's way out of line. We'll have kids when and if we want to, and when we're ready, not because you're demanding it." Jack finally found his voice, though it was softer than I'd hoped. "Mom, Olivia is right. This isn't just about what you want." But Linda was relentless. "Fine, if you won't do it for me, do it for yourselves. But I want you to get checked out. I need to know the problem isn't from your side." The nerve of her, as if bearing children was some family duty I was failing at. Jack looked at me, his eyes apologetic. "Maybe you should just to get her off our backs," he said. I agreed, but on one condition. "Fine, but you're getting checked too, Jack. Fair's fair." Okay, anything for peace," he conceded, though I could tell he was just as annoyed. The whole ordeal of getting tested was humiliating and invasive, not to mention completely unnecessary in my eyes, but it turned out to be an eye-opener in ways we hadn't anticipated. Jack's results came back, and the irony of the situation wasn't lost on us. The issue Linda was so concerned about, the delay in expanding our little family, stemmed from her precious son. The aftermath was a blend of vindication and sorrow. I wasn't sure how to feel. I wanted to rage at Linda, to throw her words back in her face, but I also saw the man I loved crumbling under the weight of his own imperfections. Linda's reaction was predictably unsupportive. Instead of rallying around her son, she doubled down on her blame game, pointing fingers at me for not being understanding enough, for not caring for Jack in his time of need. And Jack, well, he wasn't the same. The light in his eyes dimmed, replaced by shadows of doubt and shame. He retreated into himself, leaving me to fend off Linda's barbs alone. Jack's struggle with the news about fertility hit him harder than a freight train. Instead of facing it head-on, he looked for escape in booze, letting the bottles drown out his sorrows and shame. Nights turned into a blur, with him either passed out or staring into nothing, a whiskey bottle his only company. One evening, I couldn't just watch him spiral anymore. "Jack, this ain't the way. You know we got to face this thing together, not let it tear us apart," I said, my voice a mix of frustration and worry. He just scoffed, the smell of alcohol heavy in his words. "Face what, Olivia? That I'm a failure? That I can't give you kids? What's the damn point?" "It's not about that, Jack. It's about us finding a way through. The doctor said it was unlikely, not impossible. Maybe see other doctors. Explore other options." I tried to get through to him, but it was like talking to a wall. "Other options? You mean raising some other guy's kid? That ain't going to be my child." "Olivia, how am I supposed to live with that?" His words were like daggers, but I knew it was the booze and pain talking. "Any child we raise would be ours, Jack." "Ours? It doesn't matter how they come to us," I countered. But it was like I was speaking a foreign language to him. He just shook his head, sinking further into the couch and his despair. "You don't get it, Liv. You'll never get it." That night was just the start. Jack began blowing off work, first with sick calls, then not even bothering with his job. Once his pride, now it seemed like just another burden. Linda, his mom, only added fuel to the fire. "Olivia is not doing enough for you, Jack. A real wife would have you out of this slump," she accused one day, her voice sharp enough to cut glass. I had enough and shot back. "Doing enough? I'm trying to keep us afloat here, Linda, but he needs more than just me yelling at him. He needs help, real help, not just your complaints." Linda glared at me, her voice icy. "My son doesn't need some shrink. He needs his family and a wife who's actually there for him." Her words stung, but I knew standing by Jack was all I was doing, even as he slipped further away, becoming a ghost in his own life. I tried again one night, the silence heavy between us. Jack, we can't go on like this. I can't watch you tear yourself apart. I love you, damn it." For a moment, there was a glimmer of the old Jack in his eyes. "I don't know how to stop this. Liv, I'm lost." It was a crack in his armor, but promises made in desperation are fragile. As time went on, the depth of Jack's descent became painfully clear. The last straw was his job. They fired him for showing up drunk if he showed up at all. After that, he just lay on the couch all day, a shell of the man I married. Whenever I tried to reach out to pull him back, he just headed to Linda's, seeking refuge in the one place that never seemed to help. Days blurred into each other, each one a repeat of the last. Jack on the couch, lost in his own misery, and me juggling 2 jobs just to keep us afloat. It felt like we were stuck in a never-ending storm with no way out. But then something changed. It was a regular Thursday evening when I found out. I'd been feeling off for a while, sick in the mornings and just not myself. On a whim, I picked up a pregnancy test. I remember standing in our cramped bathroom, waiting for the result, my heart hammering in my chest. When the positive sign showed up, I couldn't believe it. I was pregnant. I remember the moment I decided to tell Jack. He was on the couch, staring off into nothing, a half-empty bottle of beer in his hand. My heart was hammering in my chest, but I had this crazy hope that maybe, just maybe, this news would snap him out of whatever hole he'd fallen into. "Jack, I have something to tell you. I'm pregnant," I said the words, feeling both heavy and light at the same time. Jack's reaction was nothing like I'd hoped. He looked at me like I'd slapped him. "Pregnant? How the hell is that possible? You know what the doctor said about me." I tried to keep my voice steady to explain the situation calmly. "Jack, the doctor said it was unlikely, not impossible. This baby is ours." But Jack wasn't having any of it. He got up, his anger palpable. "Ours? Don't give me that crap, Olivia. You've been cheating on me, haven't you? That's the only way this makes sense." Before I could even process what he was saying, Linda barged in, her timing as impeccable as ever. "What's all this shouting about?" she demanded. Jack was quick to fill her in, his words twisted by bitterness. "Olivia is pregnant, claims it's mine, but we both know that's a lie." Linda turned on me, her eyes flashing with accusation. "You ungrateful little. After everything we've done for you, you go and betray my son like this." I couldn't believe what I was hearing. "Betray him, Linda? I've been here trying to make things work, even when Jack gave up. This baby is his, whether you like it or not." The argument spiraled from there, with both of them hurling accusations and demands. Linda, in her infinite wisdom, decided I should leave. "Get out of this house, Olivia. We don't need a liar and a cheat under this roof." I was so tired of the fighting, the accusations, the endless cycle of despair. So I agreed. "Fine, I'll go, but not for you, for this baby, who deserves better than this mess." Jack didn't stop me. He didn't say a word as I walked out the door, my heart heavy but my resolve strong. This baby was my glimmer of hope, and I was going to do everything in my power to protect it, to give it the life it deserved, away from all the chaos, away from a love that had turned so toxic it was unrecognizable. Starting over wasn't easy, not by a long shot. There I was, pregnant, alone, and frankly a bit scared. But there was this fire in me too, a determination to make things right for the little one growing inside me. I moved into a small, cozy apartment. It wasn't much, but it was ours, mine and the baby's. I picked up extra shifts at work, anything to make sure we'd have what we needed. Nights were the hardest, though. It was just me and my thoughts, and sometimes the silence was too loud. One evening, after a long day at work, I sat on the worn-out sofa, rubbing my belly, talking to the baby. "It's just you and me, kiddo, but we're going to make it. You'll see. I'm going to make sure of it." That's when the phone rang. It was my sister, Lucy. She'd been my rock through all of this. "Hey, Liv, how are you holding up?" Lucy's voice was always a balm, soothing and warm. "We're hanging in there. Some days are better than others," I admitted, not wanting to worry her too much. "Listen, Liv, you're not alone in this. Remember that. If you need anything, a break, someone to talk to, or just a night off from cooking, you call me, okay?" Her words meant the world to me. "Thanks, Luce. I really appreciate it." We talked a bit more about nothing in particular. Lucy always had a way of making me laugh, even when I felt like crying. After hanging up, I felt a little lighter, a bit more ready to face the world. As the weeks turned into months, I got to know every inch of that little apartment. I decorated a corner for the baby, putting together a makeshift nursery. It wasn't much, but it was filled with love. As my due date approached, I felt a mix of excitement and nerves. I was about to meet my baby, to start this new chapter for real. And even though I was doing it on my own, I knew we'd be okay. Life as a single mom had its set of challenges, but me and my little boy Max were doing all right. He was growing up fast, all smiles and curiosity, making all the tough times worth it. Then one day life decided to throw us another curveball. I was at the park with Max, pushing him on the swings, when I ran into a face from the past, Tina, an old friend of Jack's. Her expression was a mix of surprise and something else, maybe pity, when she saw us. "Olivia, wow, it's been ages. How are you holding up?" Her voice was cautious, like she was walking on eggshells. "We're managing." "Thanks. Max keeps me on my toes," I said, trying to keep the conversation light. "Yeah, I heard about, well, everything. I'm sorry, Olivia," Tina said, her tone awkward. "For what?" I asked, not sure I wanted to know, but asking anyway. "It's worth noting that Jack's been going through a rough patch too," Tina added. I prompted, not sure where this was headed. "He got married, had another kid, but things didn't go well," Tina continued. "There were problems with the baby. He was born not quite healthy. Then Jack got into trouble for not paying support. It's a mess." Hearing about Jack's troubles stirred up a storm of emotions in me. Part of me felt vindicated seeing him face consequences for once, but there was no joy in it, especially hearing about another child caught in the middle of his mess. "Life has a way of catching up with you, I guess," I said, my voice neutral. Tina nodded awkwardly, shifting from one foot to the other. "Yeah, it does. Look, Olivia, I know it's none of my business, but are you all right after everything?" I looked at Max, who was laughing, urging me to push him higher on the swings. "We're more than all right, Tina," I said. "We've moved on, and we're happy, really happy." That night, as I tucked Max into bed, I thought about Jack and his other child. My heart ached for that little one caught in a situation they didn't choose. I whispered a silent prayer for them, hoping they'd find peace amidst the chaos. Life with Max was a whirlwind of school runs, soccer games, and endless questions. He was my little man, growing up too fast, and I was doing my best to keep up. Our routine was hectic, but happy. Until one day, a blast from the past turned our world upside down. It was just another day, me and Max doing our usual grocery run, when out of nowhere, Linda, my ex-mother-in-law, showed up. It was like bumping into a ghost from a past life I'd worked hard to forget. As soon as she saw us, her eyes lit up, especially when they landed on Max. Without a second thought, she swooped in, trying to hug him. Max, who's not used to strangers, especially not her, hid behind me. "Olivia, let me see my grandson. He looks so healthy, not like the other one," Linda said, a twisted sort of pride in her voice that made my skin crawl. "Back off, Linda. You've got no right to come here and make demands, especially talking like that about a sick child. It's disgusting," I snapped, putting myself between her and Max. She huffed, her face twisted in anger. "You can't keep me from him, Olivia. He's my grandson, too. I have rights." "Yeah, well, it's funny you suddenly remember you've got a grandson now. And as for rights, you lost those the minute you sided with Jack, calling me every name under the sun. Forget it. You're not coming anywhere near Max." I shot back, every word laced with years of pent-up frustration. We left her standing there, fuming, but it didn't end at the store. Later that day, she called, her voice sweet and poisonous at the same time. "Olivia, you're making a mistake. I'll sue if I have to. I want to see my grandson," Linda threatened, thinking she could bully me into submission. I held the phone away from my ear for a moment, taking a deep breath to steady myself. "You really want to go down that road, Linda? Because if we end up in court, make sure everyone knows the kind of person you really are, how you treated me, how you talk about your other grandchild. You think a judge will look kindly on that?" There was silence on the line for a few beats, and I could almost hear the gears turning in her head. "You wouldn't dare," she finally hissed. "Try me, Linda. I've kept my mouth shut for too long, but I'm done playing nice. Max and I, we're doing just fine without you. So go ahead and try your luck in court. We'll see how far it gets you." After a moment, she hung up. That was the last I heard from her. I wasn't sure if she believed I'd follow through, or if the thought of her dirty laundry being aired in public was too much for her. Either way, Max and I were left in peace. As I tucked him into bed that night, I thought about how far we'd come and how much we'd overcome. "Everything's going to be all right, buddy," I whispered, more to myself than to him. That night, I realized no matter what came our way, we'd face it together just like we always had, and no one, not even Linda with her threats and bitterness, could take that away from us. Life after Linda's threat had been strangely peaceful. I braced for a storm that never came, and in its absence, Max and I found our rhythm again. That peace was shattered when Jack showed up out of the blue. It had been years since I last saw him, and here he was, standing at my door, looking worn and tired. "Olivia, can we talk?" Jack's voice was low, hesitant. I hesitated, my hand on the door, ready to close it on him and this part of my past. "Talk. After all this time, you just show up and want to talk." I know I've got no right to ask anything of you, but I've been through a lot, and I've changed." "Olivia, I need help," he said, a hint of desperation creeping into his voice. "Changed? You think saying you've changed is enough? You walked away, Jack. You chose that path, not me. Max and I, we built a life without you. Why should I let you back into it?" Jack looked down, unable to meet my gaze. "I'm not asking to come back like nothing happened. I don't know where else to go," he said. I looked at him, really looked at him, and saw the shell of the man I once loved. It would have been easy to feel pity, to open the door and let him back in, but life had taught me better. "Jack, you need to understand something. It's not just about me anymore. There's Max to think about, and I won't let anyone hurt him or disrupt the life we have. You say you've changed, but I can't just take your word for it. You need to prove it, not for me, but for yourself." Jack nodded, a semblance of understanding dawning in his eyes. "I get it, Olivia. I really do. I'll try to do better." "That's all anyone can ask, Jack. But for now, you need to leave. Max and I have a life, a good one, and I'm not ready to risk that." He took a step back, finally lifting his eyes to meet mine. "I understand. Take care of Max, Olivia. He deserves the best." "I will, Jack. I always have." Closing the door on Jack was like closing a chapter of my life I never thought I'd revisit. It was hard, but in that moment I knew I'd made the right decision. Later, as I watched Max play in the backyard, the late afternoon sun casting long shadows over the lawn, I realized how far we'd come. We faced down ghosts from our past and stood our ground, stronger and more united than ever. "Mom, look," Max called, waving at me from his makeshift fort. I smiled, walking over to him. "What is it, buddy?" "Just wanted to show you the fort. It's our castle," he said, his eyes shining with pride. "Our castle, huh? I like the sound of that." "It's our little kingdom, and we protect it together," I said, ruffling his hair. "Yeah, together," Max agreed, a big grin on his face. As the sun set, painting the sky in hues of orange and pink, I knew that no matter what the future held, we face it head-on as a team. Our little family of two was a force to be reckoned with, built on love, resilience, and a firm stand against the challenges life threw our way. And that was all we needed.